For years ago, XPENG was the undisputed king of assisted driving in China. Back then, most other car companies' lane keep assist systems would freak out on curvy roads, but XPENG, they were already rolling out Highway Navigate on Pilot. But are they still top dog? That's what I'm here to find out. In this video, we're gonna take a look at XPENG's true end-to-end capabilities. So without further ado, let's talk about the route. We're in Changsha, starting on CAI East Middle Road. We'll go through the Huangqing Square roundabout, do a full loop, then make a U-turn back onto CAI East Middle Road. After another pass through Huangqing Square, we'll U-turn in front of Changsha IFS. Then, we'll go under the Furong Square Bridge, take a right onto Furong Road, and finally, a left under the Furong Road overpass towards Dongcheng. That's the whole route. We're using XPENG's XOS 5.2.5. I actually got this route from a Li Auto video I saw online. Shout out to GAO, the Li Auto vlogger. I'll do a frame-by-frame comparison between the two systems in the next video. This one focuses solely on how XPENG 5.2.5 handles this specific route. If you're interested in the comparison, I'll link Gao's video below so you can check it out yourself. My comparison video is coming soon. Alright, let's get started. Starting on CAIE Road. This part's pretty straightforward, nothing too exciting. Now, here's our first point of interest, the Huangqing Square roundabout. You can see the system initially chose the right lane, even with cars cutting in from the restricted area. The planner didn't stick rigidly to the outermost lane and smartly moved into the second lane, but the acceleration is way too cautious. A human driver would have probably gunned it a bit more to get through that gap. It's not so much cautious as it is laggy. I'll talk more about the system's lag or latency in a future video about XPENG's. It basically feels like the system is constantly a step behind. Like here, the SR shows the system braking at the right moment, and it does brake when the SR shows it braking. But the SR's perception is delayed compared to reality. So what looks like good timing on the SR is actually late in real time. This latency really shows up when there are moving objects involved. I'm sure a lot of XPENG owners have experienced the super slow restart after the car brakes for a cutting vehicle. That's the latency in action. Back to the route. Here, we have a bus pulling out from the side of the road. XPENG decides to stop and wait instead of steering around it. And again, the same slow start once the bus is gone. The system's actions aren't necessarily wrong, but these tiny deviations from what you'd expect as a driver really break the sense of trust. It's a human-computer interaction thing. Same issue here with the white car merging from the left. Very slow to get going again. Fast forward to the roundabout exit. No issues here, nice and smooth. Okay, skipping ahead to the next test. The U-turn on CAI East Middle Road. As of this version, XPENG is the only system on the market that can handle U-turns. Let's see how it does. You see that slight drift to the right? That's the AI planner at work. Sometimes it feels a little too close to the other lane, though, and the U-turn itself is a bit slow. The steering wheel a little jerky. Definitely room for improvement. But overall, not bad. But then, the system disengages and asks me to take over. No idea why. It restarts fine, though. Back to Huangqing Square roundabout. Same old story, slow restart after being cut off. Okay, we accelerate through the roundabout this time since it's pretty much the same situation. Exiting the roundabout at a different exit this time. This bus isn't blocking our lane, so we get through without a hitch. Continuing down CAI East Road toward Wui Square. This is all straightforward stuff. Traffic lights, intersections, easy peasy. Fast forward. Okay, this situation is interesting and kind of scary. A delivery guy on a scooter cuts us off hard from the right. The system does swerve, but not enough, and not quickly enough. And again, that hesitant acceleration once the scooter is gone. Rewind and watch the scooter and the steering wheel. The scooter crosses the white line here, but the system only reacts here. If you rewind even further, you'll see that when the system finally swerves, the visualization still shows the scooter just starting to cross the white line. That visualization is showing what happened 1 or 2 seconds ago. If you just looked at the visualization and the steering, you'd think the reaction was fine, but in reality, it's super delayed. Another detail, when the planned trajectory changes, the car reacts almost instantly. That means there's no lag between planning decision making, and control. The latency is all in the perception. The planner is working with outdated information. That's why the whole system feels sluggish. Where's that delay coming from? Beats me. Ask XPENG's engineers. My guess, deep learning inference time. Maybe those attention blocks are taking too long to process. Probably has something to do with the NVIDIA drive XPENG is using. I'll cover this in more detail in my XPENG issues video. I'm not an expert in deployment and acceleration, so it's mostly speculation anyway. Getting a bit off topic here. Back to the root. But wait, we've got a little fender bender happening right here. That motorcycle, yikes. Always be careful on the roads in China, whether you're driving yourself or using assisted driving. Okay, actually back to the route now. Just starting from a traffic light. Nothing special. Now we're under the Wui Square Bridge. Sticking to the right lane. There's a three-wheeled vehicle stopped up ahead. The system isn't trying to go around it at the intersection. It's probably relying on the road topology, the connections between lane points. So it just waits. Cars are piling up behind us. It does a slight swerve around a parked ride-hailing car. Okay, next up, the U-turn in front of IFS. The system gets into the target lane early. Not much traffic for this U-turn, so it should be relatively easy. I still see a lot of unnecessary steering wheel movements with this version. That's the AI planner constantly adjusting. They probably need some extra constraints to smooth things out. The U-turn speed is still too slow for my liking. Could definitely be faster. XPENG sees the motorcycle behind us. But there's that proxy and latency issue I mentioned earlier. I'll show you another example of the proximity detection, or proxy problem later on. Back to the route. Here we are back at Wui Square. Making a right turn under the bridge. Green light, but there are pedestrians crossing. They have a red light, so they are jaywalking. XPENG is super cautious around pedestrians, though, so we wait. Okay, everyone's clear. We can go. Now we have merging traffic as we turn. This is always tricky. The system slightly uses the bike lane. Up ahead, we need to merge from the underpass onto the main road. So it's steering left. Here's a rear view for perspective. A taxi is stopped ahead, and cars are constantly merging from the left. Finding a gap to change lanes is difficult here. And with XPENG's latency, it's even harder. The rear view shows a decent gap opening up. Let's see what XPENG does. The merge is decent, but it leaves way too much space in front. A human driver would have gotten much closer, without hitting the car in front. That reduces the feeling of being cut off for the cars behind. Up ahead is Furong Square. We're going under the bridge, though. It's a pretty complex area with mixed traffic. Not too busy right now, but you can see it's a complicated layout. It's like a mini roundabout. Left is the exit from the roundabout, and up ahead on the left is the entrance. We're going straight through and making a right turn onto Furong Road. The system handles the static obstacles under the bridge pretty well. Staying centered in the extra wide lane is no problem either. Clearly staying to the left here to avoid the oncoming scooter and pedestrians. Now comes the merge. 3 lanes merging into one. We're coming from under the bridge. There's traffic from the bridge above, and a tunnel on the left. Let's see how XPENG manages this. It moves to the left lane first. I would have probably gone straight to the second right lane. Okay, now it's moving to the second right lane. There's a lane narrowing up ahead. Merging to the left. This is another basic maneuver for XPENG. At these speeds, the speed differences aren't that significant, so the latency isn't a huge factor. It's able to yield to merging traffic without issue. My roof camera died, so we're switching to the interior view. I had to disengage because it was running the yellow light. I swapped the roof camera battery after that intersection. Onto the final test, a left turn under the bridge. First, we need to get into the auxiliary lane and merge under the bridge. The system isn't showing any intention of changing lanes, so I used the turn signal. Still nothing, so I took over. Remember I mentioned proximity detection and latency during the U-turn. This is a perfect example of the proximity detection issue. It's why XPENG struggles with sensing objects to the side and slightly behind. Let's ignore the wrong lane choice for a second and focus on that delivery guy. You can see him on the visualization screen, but as soon as I change lanes, he disappears. He was moving from our right rear to directly behind us, then to our left rear. These quick transitions between the near-field cameras are where XPENG's system tends to miss things. Here's an example. When an object passes between two cameras, both images go into the network in the same batch. You get features for each camera, but the features of the object are incomplete. The system might not link them up until later stages of processing, which can lead to missed detections at the final object detection stage. There are solutions for this, like pre-interactive perception. There's a paper on it from CVPR 2023. This footage isn't from XPENG's driving cameras, it's from their surround view system. Okay, back to the final test, the left turn under the bridge. The trajectory here is pretty impressive, threading the needle between the concrete barriers and moving cars. After the turn, I think it could have stayed a bit more to the right. It hugs the left side, and since there aren't clear lane markings, it's constantly negotiating with the oncoming traffic. Feels a bit less safe, but still within acceptable limits. There's another U-turn ahead. I didn't include it originally because I knew the system would fail. I'd tried it before, but this time, I gave it some gas, anticipating the failure, and it actually made it. So, I'll show it to you. This is what I was talking about earlier. It drifts too far to the right and gets itself stuck. I let the steering wheel straighten out and moved forward. It can get stuck here for a while. See, it's still trying to drift right, once I gave it enough gas to get to the turning point. Let's see how it does. I gave it more gas during the turn because it's so slow. It's easy to get stuck. And it actually made it. It always failed here before. Probably because the road isn't wide enough. Okay, that's pretty much the end of the route and almost the end of the video. Like I said, it failed at this last intersection before, so I helped it with the accelerator. This clip you're seeing now is from that previous attempt. With no intervention from me. XPENG doesn't give an audio alert for accelerator intervention, but there's an icon on the dashboard. So, when you watch other XPENG you can look for that to see if they are intervening. No audio cues with XPENG. Remember. Okay. Wrapping up the video here. The next two videos will